Let's talk about college football week 10. The biggest game of the weekend was kind of a letdown, I'm not going to lie. I was so excited for what was at the time the number one team in the nation, Tennessee, on the road at number 3, Georgia. And Georgia won convincingly. They were up 24-6 at halftime. Then it was 27-6. Tennessee did get a touchdown with 4 minutes left to make it 27-13. But Georgia's defense was incredible. And it felt like the moment was a little too big for Tennessee. They never looked comfortable. They had a bunch of false starts. Their offensive line struggled with penalties. I think the crowd, plus the pressure of the moment, plus the late shift by Georgia's defense, it just led to a bunch of false starts. And Tennessee's quarterback, Hendon Hooker, missed a couple shots deep. He didn't throw a touchdown pass in this game, which is kind of shocking. He did get picked off. So, not a great game for Tennessee. The guy that shined in this game, in my opinion, who I think has shined all year for Georgia and does not get the love he deserves. Georgia's quarterback, Stetson Bennett, man. He's not a Heisman Trophy candidate. He's not going to put up crazy gaudy numbers, but Stetson Bennett is balling. Like, people got to give him some respect. Last year, I thought Stetson Bennett was led to a national title by a great team. It was a great team that took Stetson Bennett to a national title. Then Georgia lost a bunch of talent. They had 15 guys drafted. This year, Stetson Bennett is the one leading the way. He's not being led, he's doing the leading. Stetson Bennett is leading Georgia to a national title. And if Stetson Bennett had more touchdown passes, like, he would be a Heisman Trophy contender. Absolutely. He has played so well in big moments. And people don't give him respect because he's on a great football team. But I can't wait for the day we get to watch Stetson Bennett go toe-to-toe with C.J. Stroud. I would not have said that a year ago. But I've watched Stetson Bennett get better and better. He's making plays. He's running around. He's throwing deep balls. He's accurate. He's on time. He's killing it. And Stetson Bennett's come such a long way. It's crazy to see. I expected a better game here. I probably shouldn't be surprised that Georgia won and made it seem so easy. But I think that the thing that people aren't paying attention to with Georgia, Stetson Bennett is kind of an overlooked guy. He was never a star, but this year, dude, he's playing different. He's playing better. And I really think there's going to be a day, hopefully in the college football playoff, where we see Georgia play Ohio State and C.J. Stroud. And I think Stetson Bennett's going to go toe-to-toe, throw for throw against an elite quarterback like C.J. Stroud, and that's a really, really exciting thought. Now, LSU beat Alabama 32-31 this past weekend in overtime. It was a night game at LSU. I got to admit, that's one of my dreams, to go to Death Valley, to see a night game, maybe against Alabama, like that rivalry. Oh my gosh, it was awesome. This is Alabama's second loss of the year. So this pretty much completely eliminates Alabama from making the college football playoff. Feels like Kirby Smart and Georgia have really overtaken Nick Saban in Alabama, and Georgia now sits at the top of the college football world. And I'm really curious if in the next year or two, Nick Saban can reclaim his throne. Or could this be the beginning of kind of the decline of Nick Saban in Alabama? You see a lot of coaches, I think of Frank Beamer, or an unpopular name, but Joe Paterno. Coaches that coached until they were like 100 years old, like decrepit old men that could barely walk, still coaching college football. They were dominant at a point, and then they never retired, and they just kept coaching and coaching and coaching. Is this the moment, and maybe the beginning of that moment for Nick Saban, where he's never going to leave, he's going to coach forever, but get decreasingly successful as time goes on? Or can Nick Saban bounce back at some point in the next year or two and reclaim his throne at the top of college football? It's a storyline to watch that I'm really interested in. Now, this was a massive win for LSU head coach Brian Kelly. Some people were very, very skeptical when he got hired. People were saying, he's overrated. He was carried by Notre Dame. I loved it. I always said Brian Kelly's an awesome coach. I think he's bigger than Notre Dame. And so far in year one, at LSU, Brian Kelly is 7-2. He's now got a win over Alabama. I think this win really helps legitimize him in the state of Louisiana. It's incredible. Now, Alabama quarterback Bryce Young, I would not say he had a bad game. He threw for over 300 yards, but this definitely was not the best game I've ever seen Bryce Young play. He threw an interception in the end zone. He completed less than 50% of his passes. He did clutch it up and put together a nice game-tying drive at the end. And high-pressure situations, if you're an NFL person considering drafting Bryce Young, I got to say, I have never seen Bryce Young seem to be even bothered by a big situation in a game. Plus, Bryce Young did what he could to win. Like, he scored a touchdown in overtime. They did what they could. Alabama, they score a touchdown in overtime. They take a 31-24 lead. Did their part. But I want to talk, before we get into what happened in overtime, LSU quarterback Jaden Daniels was awesome. 3 total touchdowns, 0 turnovers. He ran for 95 yards and a touchdown. I'm so curious how the NFL is going to view Jaden Daniels come time for the NFL draft, because he's really athletic. He's got a pretty good arm. I think he could be a second or third round steal, maybe similar to Jalen Hurts out of Oklahoma, who went to the Eagles. I mean, there's a couple teams in the market for a second or third round quarterback, and maybe Jaden Daniels is one of those guys. Now, the way this game ended was chef's kiss beautiful. It brought me back to Utah's win over USC earlier this year. Alabama scored first in overtime. They took a 31-24 lead. Then LSU got the ball. They scored a touchdown. They make it 30-31. And then LSU went for 2. They said, we are going for the win here and now. And I love the attitude. Anytime a coach says, let's end it here and now, it acknowledges the ability of your opponent. I think it's very respectful, actually, to your opponent to say, look, we think you're really good. We want to end this game now because we don't want to keep going further into overtime against Bryce Young, your starting quarterback, and your really talented football team. LSU said, we got a shot to end the game right now. Let's do it now. And they did. I love the attitude. It's a huge win for Brian Kelly and LSU, and I'm really happy for them. Again, legitimizes a coach that I believed in. I was a huge believer in Brian Kelly. Watching him win made me feel like, I wasn't crazy. Notre Dame beat Clemson 35-14 this past weekend. It was a dominating performance by Notre Dame. And kind of a surprise. Clemson didn't score until they were down 28-0 in the fourth quarter. Notre Dame blocked their 6th punt of the year, took it for a touchdown, which, by the way, for Notre Dame, they've blocked 6 punts this year. That's unreal. Clemson losing pretty much removes them from all possibility of making the college football playoff. They're a one-loss team now. And amongst all the other one-loss college football teams, Clemson is not the best. I mean, Oregon, for example, whose only loss is Georgia, is going to have a better shot at making the college football playoff. Maybe later Michigan. If Michigan loses to Ohio State, they're going to get in with one loss over a one-loss Clemson team. Clemson losing really is going to open the door for some other team to make the college football playoff. I think it makes things very, very interesting. Now, it was kind of a crazy weekend in college football because Alabama lost, Clemson lost. 2 teams I think were still in college football playoff contention are out. Bama was one of those one-loss teams that had a better shot than most. They're gone. So, kind of a wild shakeup in college football, but I want to talk about the Clemson quarterback situation. Clemson quarterback DJ Uiagalelei was the starting quarterback for this game. He did not play well. He had a pick 6. There was a screen pass I watched DJ throw wildly off target. He threw like a swing route literally behind Will Shipley, out of bounds, lost 7 yards, created a 3rd and 17 situation. Woefully unimpressed with DJ Uiagalelei. Am I Yoda? Woefully unimpressed was I. I can't even talk, but now when Clemson was down 14-0 in the third quarter, they tried putting their true freshman quarterback, Cade Klubnik, in, and unlike the Syracuse game earlier this year, he couldn't rescue Clemson. He threw an interception, was quickly put back on the bench. It's unfortunate. I would really like to see Cade Klubnik actually get a legitimate shot to start a football game instead of just consistently being put in when they're like, hey, rescue us. It's not going well. Maybe you can save us. I don't like throwing Hail Marys with Cade Klubnik. How about you actually put him in and give him a real legitimate shot? I remain confused and fascinated by the Clemson quarterback situation. I am not sure why Dabo Swinney, their head coach, remains so committed, unwaveringly committed to DJ Uiagalelei. I don't get it. I don't know what's going on there. Does Does DJ have pictures of Dabo doing crazy stuff? Like, what does he have on him? Is he blackmailing him? Like, why is DJ still the quarterback at Clemson? I don't get it. I'm joking there. But my point is, like, I really hope Clemson makes a move at some point to start Cade Klubnik. Like, I want to see the guy get a real shot, not just come in the second half when you're down a bunch, expected to maybe save the day. I don't know. Either way, Notre Dame dominated. I thought it was a good day for Notre Dame and their former head coach, Brian Kelly. Notre Dame dominated up front. They put a lot of pressure on DJ Uiagalelei on the defensive line. Their offensive line was incredible. Notre Dame ran for 263 yards. And not a bad first year for Notre Dame Marcus Freeman. He's now 6-3, bowl eligible. And I know I was bad-mouthing him the other day, but I like bad-mouthing the program. I remember when Brian Kelly left Notre Dame, I was like, I think Brian Kelly's better than Notre Dame. I don't think Notre Dame's this crazy good job, but I got nothing against Marcus Freeman. He's an awesome dude. Great to see him win, and I like watching Notre Dame upset Clemson this past weekend. Now, there's one more game I thought was interesting this past weekend. Texas beat K-State 34-27. Texas quarterback Quinn Ewers played well. He had 2 touchdowns, no turnovers. Texas running back Bijan Robinson had 30 carries for 209 yards and 2 touchdowns. Just 1 touchdown run. Not 2, just 1. I'm getting carried away here. Now, I don't know that I would draft Bijan Robinson in the first round because I just wouldn't draft any running back in the first round. But Bijan Robinson is a guy that's going to get drafted probably in the second or third round of the NFL draft and become a day one starter and really, really impress a lot of people. Another storyline here in this football game is that K-State's quarterback, Adrian Martinez, came back from an injury in this football game, and he threw a bad interception before halftime. That led to a Texas touchdown. In fact, Texas led at halftime 31-10. And I'm not trying to create problems, but it feels like there should be a quarterback controversy in Manhattan, Kansas, where K-State is, because I'm not going to lie, I thought maybe when they were down 31-10 at halftime, I'm like, maybe you should have started your backup quarterback, your other quarterback, Will Howard. You know, he had 4 touchdown passes in your previous win, 48-0 over Oklahoma State. It was interesting they put Adrian Martinez back in, despite what happened, and I just wonder, I don't know what the narrative is right now in Manhattan, Kansas, amongst K-State fans and their students, but you would think there's people saying, we should probably play the other quarterback. Adrian Martinez didn't get it done. Now, Adrian Martinez is more talented. He's got a bigger arm. He can run around and make plays with his legs. I'm not sure he's better, though. Talent doesn't mean you're a better quarterback, necessarily. So he's another athletic quarterback, though, in college football. And I'm curious how the NFL is going to view him, because I think of Anthony Richardson, who is a powerhouse, huge arm, can run. Most talented physically quarterback in college football is Anthony Richardson. Then you got Adrian Martinez and Jaden Daniels. There are teams in the NFL right now, the Giants, the Saints, the Lions, Washington, Denver. A lot of teams that could draft a quarterback in the second or third round, and Adrian Martinez is another guy that I could see a team taking a flyer on and saying, we're going to teach this guy to play quarterback because he's really talented. So keep your eye on that. That's really interesting. Now, here are the college football rankings after Week 10. The AP Top 25. I think we got to wait a little while till the college football playoff makes another official rankings. But number 1 right now in college football is 9-0, Georgia. Number 2, according to the AP, the Associated Press Top 25, Ohio State's number 2 at 9-0. Michigan is number 3, also 9-0. And number 4 in the nation right now is their highest ranking yet, TCU, also 9-0. So the top 4 teams are all 9-0. 3 teams fell this weekend after losing: Tennessee, Alabama, and Clemson. The number 5 team in the country is 8-1 Tennessee. Number 6 in the nation is 8-1 Oregon. Both teams' only loss is Georgia, but Tennessee's loss to Georgia was a little better than Georgia's dominating blowout over Oregon. The number 17 in the nation is LSU at 7-2. They just beat Alabama. The number 8 team in the nation is 8-1 USC. Number 9 is 8-1 UCLA. 3 Pac-12 teams in the top 10, which is kind of interesting. And the number 10 team in the nation is Alabama at 7-2. Now, things to pay attention to. On November 26th, Michigan plays at Ohio State. That's going to be really interesting. I'm very excited to see what happens. I would imagine Ohio State is going to beat Michigan. But Michigan, even with one loss, still has a good chance to make it into the college football playoff at this point, in my mind, because they could be the best of the one-loss teams remaining. And there's only 4 teams undefeated. That's not going to stay that way. By the end of the year, the potential, at best right now, you're going to have 9-0 Georgia, undefeated Georgia, undefeated Ohio State or Michigan, depending on who wins their head-to-head game, and then potentially an undefeated TCU team. You can only have 3 right now based on who's lost, so that's really interesting to me. Another good matchup is November 19, UCLA against USC. Both teams only have 1 loss, and the Pac-12 title game is going to be Oregon against the winner of USC-UCLA. There's a small chance that a Pac-12 school could make it into the college football playoff, like a 1-loss Oregon, a 1-loss USC or UCLA, because of who's lost ahead of them. Especially if TCU loses, and then you've got a couple 1-loss teams getting in, there's a really good chance the Pac-12 with 1 loss or a 1-loss Michigan team is going to make it into the college football playoff.